Hello and welcome. I am Gimba Umar. Tonight, President Muhammad Buhari restates resolve to end insecurity and insurgency in the northeast at the World Economic Forum in Jordan as he receives promise from hardwares supply from King Abdullah bin Al Hussein. Group takes to the streets of Abuja in protest over continued killings in Zamfara state, call for action to check the activities of bandits in the area. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control reports 16 fresh cases of Lassa fever in 5 states across the country, confirms 121 deaths since the onset of the 2019 outbreak. And fresh fighting breaks out in the outskirts of the Libyan capital Tripoli as government forces intensify attacks on rebel groups.
On Business News tonight, analysts ask government to shelve plans for increase in value-added tax and harness opportunities in informal sector.
In sports news, Manchester City Football Club stay on course for the quadruple after beating Brighton to reach the final of the FA Cup at Wembley.
More international cooperation may just be what Nigeria needs at this time more than ever before to finally win the war against insurgency. And President Muhammad Buhari says that he is on the path to ensure that this is achieved as he again makes a case for the country at a private discussion with the King of Jordan, King Abdullah bin Al Hussein. The president, who is attending the World Economic Forum on Middle East and North Africa in Jordan, on the invitation of the Jordanian king, believes that the long-term bilateral relations between both countries will be strengthened in trade and innovative ideas that will benefit the citizens. King Abdullah II bin Al Hussein, on his part, promised that his country will continue to support Nigeria with hardwares to ensure that the global war against terrorism is successfully prosecuted. President Muhammad Buhari had earlier told the world leaders attending the forum that lack of social and economic inclusion are responsible for challenges facing the Middle East and Africa, and he believes that the countries of the region will fare better if they work together. President Buhari said, quote, "In this digital age where physical borders no longer exist, to protect even the most secured nations, the only way to overcome predatory and divisionary forces is for all well-meaning nations to work together for the greater good of mankind. Simply put, cooperation among sovereign nations is no longer a choice. It is an absolute necessity." End of quote. President Buhari also acknowledged the several security challenges facing the region, detailing what his administration has done in the last 4 years to create a safe environment. He said, quote, "We have also been host to some of the deadliest conflicts in recent history. The deaths, damage and destruction caused by the terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda, ISIS and Boko Haram over the last 10 years will take decades to repair." End of quote. Some shop owners at a building housing multiple stories along Shonola Street in Aguda Ogba area of Lagos are counting their losses as a raging fire burns down their goods worth millions of naira. Eyewitnesses accounts told Channels Television that the fire started from a hairdressing salon before it extended to other parts of the building. A young lady was said to have been fueling a working generator when the jerry can containing the fuel caught fire. The girl reportedly threw the burning jerry can of fuel back into the shop out of fear. She, however, sustained minor burns from the incident and has been taken to a hospital for treatment. Rescue officials there and firefighters as well are said to have arrived at the scene early enough to stop the raging fire from spreading to nearby buildings. No casualty was recorded. Well, it's also a sad story for victims of the recent wildfire in Buriburi community in Ringim local government area of Jigawa State as they lament what they spent at how they spent the night on the roads after their houses were razed in the fire outbreak. The State Emergency Management Agency says that more than 45 houses were burnt in the community, leaving several people homeless.
Residents of Buriburi community in Ringim local government area making the most of what is left of their lives after fire took down their homes. Located 45 kilometers from Dutse, the state capital, the people who are known for the production of sorghum and millet lament how their houses, grain silos, livestock and domestic materials were destroyed in the fire.
Ana kokarin kashewa aka ji ta ƙarshen yamma ta kama. Famfan da za mu buga dama muna da matsalar ƙarancin ruwa da tituna. Famfan da za a zo a bugi ruwan guda ɗaya na tsakiyar gari. To wutar ta tsallaka yamma da shi. Baka isa ka zo ka buga ruwa. An fita na bayan gari na makaranta ana bugawa ya karye. An yi wa kwana-kwana waya su zo su kafin su zo dai duk abin da zai Allah ya riga ya yi. Su ma sun zo sawun su hudu ban samu galabar abun ba.
Asara ce Allah ya kawo wuta ta mana ta'adi ta shinye mana abin da za mu ci da abin da muke dan amfani da shi duka babu da gunda za mu kwanta. A yanzu dai gunda za mu tsugunna ma mai fitsari ya gagare mu ba mu da inuwar ma da za mu huta. Yanzu ga da mu da dabbobin mu hede mu fita jeji. Ga kuma yanzu mu matsalar da muke ciki ma gunda za mu zauna din ma kaga a yanzu mutum dan bai da abin da zai ce inda kana da gunda zaka kwana ai zaka tafi ka je ka nemo. To yanzu abin inda yanzu wani iya da daman ma da zai dan zuba karama da ciyawa ya shiga to ai da dama amma yanzu ciyawar ma da za mu yi aikin dakunan nan da za mu dan yi mu dan samu gun zama to babu ciyawar babu karama.
The displaced persons include women and children. While they are trying to eke out a living, the State Emergency Management Agency says the people are already receiving support.
We went there, we condoled the people, we sympathized with them, and we gave them intervention, that is food, stuff, and some clothing, together with whatever they need, the immediate need of the people.
While the authorities continue to make promises, the people are hoping that more succor will come their way to alleviate their situation.
A group of concerned citizens staged protests in Abuja, Kaduna and Sokoto states to demand action from the government over the killings in Zamfara state. The protesters, who were prevented from proceeding to the presidential villa, vowed to return to the streets in 2 weeks if nothing is done about the situation. The citizens' action drew participation from several states of the Federation, barring placards and inscriptions such as "Declare a state of emergency in Zamfara state now," "Zamfara lives matter," and "End the genocides now." Prominent broadcaster Kadri Ahmed, who hails from Zamfara state, says that it is the height of incompetence for the country's security agencies to stand by helplessly and watch as Zamfara is being run by the criminals. Zamfara state has been in the news in recent times over the activities of bandits, which has led to the deaths of many people in the state, unfortunately so too. Meanwhile, the president is giving Nigerians the assurance that he would do whatever it takes to ensure the country's security system confronts armed bandits terrorizing the people. The president, who was reacting to recent incidents of banditry and kidnappings in some parts of the country, describes himself as one of the unhappiest leaders in the world. The president said in a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, and I quote, "How can I be happy and indifferent to the senseless killings of my fellow citizens by bandits? I am human and I understand the pains of the victims and their families who have been traumatized and impoverished by constant ransom demands by bandits." End of quote. The president adds that security issues continue to dominate his mind every 24 hours as an elected president. And he says that he has ordered rapid and robust deployment of troops to all the areas currently under attack from bandits, as the government is determined to tackle this challenge head-on. As the nation grapples with the thorny issue of entrenching globally accepted democratic principles, one critical area which pressure groups have pushed advocacy towards is that of ensuring gender equality, especially women inclusiveness in the political leadership of the country. Ever since the advent of democratic governance, the scale has allegedly always been titled against women's participation in Nigeria's political landscape. Our next report zeroes in on how this development has played out at the Edo State House of Assembly.
Available statistics show that during inauguration in 2015, out of the 109 senators, only 7 were women, and of the 360 members of the House of Representatives, just 22, less than 10%, were women. In all the state houses of assembly with 990 members, the percentage of women on the list is even less. In Edo State, South Nigeria, for instance, it was only 1 female candidate amongst all the candidates that vied for seats in the State House of Assembly in the 2015 general elections. For the governorship election in 2016, the number of female candidates was 0. However, 4 out of the 19 political parties had women as running mates for their candidates. Following the 2019 elections, it will be an all-men affair in the Edo House of Assembly, as no woman made the list of the incoming 9th Assembly. There is only 1 female lawmaker in the current 8th Assembly in Edo State, Honorable Elizabeth Ativie, who at some point rose to become the Speaker.
My experience has been one of good, encouraging experience. Some others are not encouraging at all. The encouraging one is that the men themselves are very good men. They saw me as one of them. They didn't see me as a woman. And so I was able to express myself anytime, any day, anywhere.
The 2 leading political parties, the APC and the PDP, explain their party's position when it comes to fielding female aspirants for elective office.
The only way we can have preferential consideration for any sector or any body has to be by way of consensus. If we adopt consensus as the first approach, we will be able to, as a policy, get more women involved.
PDP is gender friendly. PDP has support for women. They bought form, but the forms they bought was not, it was subsidized somehow. And the women went for the primary election, and they won.
A special advisor on gender to the Edo State Governor, Ms. Efosa Uyigie's position aligns with that of the Edo State APC leadership.
Nobody is going to give you anything because you are a woman. You really have to come out for it and you try to grab it. Because the men are not going to sit back and just let you go because you are a woman. Yes, it would have been very good for us to have women in this in the next assembly.
But Honorable Ativie insists that the major setback against women in politics, as of now, stems from the conduct of party primaries and the constitution of party caucuses.
The way women came out this time around in Nigeria as a whole, because the wife of the president and everybody came out to say, women come out, women come out. A lot of women came out, but these women never saw the light of the day, even in the primary.
The National Gender Policy Implementation Framework 2007 aims to empower women and men and achieve gender equality for development and elimination of poverty. But how well have these lofty objectives been achieved? For Professor Benson of Sada Law of the Department of History and International Studies, University of Benin, the nature of politics in Nigeria makes it difficult for women to excel.
From the point of view of society about women in politics, they strongly believe that politics is dirty and that the kind of meetings and activities that are associated with politics, women who are distant are not expected to be involved at that level. And so any woman that they see, is running from one place to another, one meeting to another, they tend to look down on that kind of a woman that is not a serious woman, that cannot be a woman that will be responsible at home. But that's not true.
As the issue of gender sensitivity and women inclusiveness in active politics remains a subject of discussion, the focus of the message by the United Nations on the 2019 International Women's Day, which is Think Equal, Build Smart, Innovate for Change, should resonate.
In part 2, after the break, it's 1 year after the gruesome bank robbery in Offa Town, Buharis State. Find out how the residents are handling the impact of the action.